The teachers of Christianity had a lot to say about Jewish observances. The teachers of Christianity wrote and spoke negatively about Jewish observances. They tell us that Jewish observances are legalistic, hypocritical, dry, devoid of spiritual content, and don't bring a person any closer to God. But there's one observance out of all the Jewish observances that they put their focus on. They zoom in on the observance of the Jewish Sabbath. The observance of the Jewish Sabbath, going back to the Christian scriptures, the earliest documents of Christianity, make fun of the Jewish Sabbath. They badmouth it. They tell us that it was all about rules and regulations and doing this and not doing that, and there was no focus on elevating the human soul, bringing the soul closer to God. Now, as a Jew, it's very difficult for me to understand why anyone could say that about the Sabbath. The Sabbath is a day of rest. It's a day when we step back from our work, no computers, no phones. It's a day just us, our family, and God. It's a day of spiritual elevation. It's a day of tranquility. It's a day where we can disconnect from the rat race of daily life and connect with our families, connect with our children, with our people, with the people around us, with our community, and we connect with God. So how could you make fun of the Sabbath? How could you put down the Sabbath? I remember as a child, my father met an elderly Jew, a Jew who grew up in Poland, and in Poland, he grew up secular. He grew up without a connection to his religion, without a connection to his heritage or his traditions. And this Jew, when he came to Canada, came to observance, came closer to God, and began observing the commandments and began observing the Torah. He reconnected with his heritage. And my father met him in the synagogue, and he invited him over for a meal Friday night. And I remember walking home with my father and with this elderly Jew. And this elderly Jew was telling my father that he doesn't understand his own grandparents, his grandparents who threw away Judaism. They found it cumbersome and they threw it away. He said, now that he knows what the Jewish Sabbath is, how could they have thrown it away? Someone who experienced the Sabbath, how could he give that up? So it was always difficult for me to understand why, out of all the observances, the Christian scriptures pick on the Sabbath to badmouth and to set as an example for legalism and hypocrisy. But the truth is, if you think about it, it's the Sabbath that gave the Jew the fortitude and the strength to withstand the persuasions of the Christian missionary. Because what is the lesson of the Sabbath? The Torah tells us it's in the Ten Commandments. The lesson, the testimony of the Sabbath is that God created the world and everything that's in it in 6 days, and he rested on the seventh. When we refrain from working, we step back from our jobs, we refrain from all creative activity on the Sabbath. We step back from our control over creation, over the world around us. What we are saying is, and what we are telling ourselves, and this is a subconscious message, a message that comes into our souls, into our beings, that the control over the world around us that we have throughout the week is not inherently ours. It's a gift from God. It's something that doesn't belong to us inherently. It's God's. He was the one that put it here, and he was the one that gave us permission to use it for 6 days. And on the seventh day, he tells us, step back. So the Jewish observance of the Sabbath, the gift that God gave to the Jewish people, is this testimony. And this message that we absorb through our observance of the Sabbath tells us something about ourselves. It tells us that we are not the boss of the world around us. It's a gift that God gave us, the control that God gave us, that God granted humanity to control all of the various aspects of the world is a gift that God gave us. It's a testimony about God, that God created the world in 6 days. And it's a testimony about every item that exists in the world. Every man, every woman, every tree, every mountain was something that was created by God. And as such, its existence is a gift. Any worship that it has in its heart, any devotion that it has in its heart belongs to God. The message, the underlying message of Christianity is that one of the inhabitants of this planet is not someone who owes devotion, but is someone who devotion is owed to. The Christian church believes that mankind ought to give devotion, worship Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus of Nazareth was a man. He walked this planet just like all of us. And the message of Sabbath is that every man, including Jesus, belongs to God. His existence is a gift that God put into the world, and all of the devotion that's in his heart belongs to God. None of the devotion that's in our heart belongs to him. All of it belongs to God. The message of Sabbath directly contradicts the message of Christianity, and that is why the Christian teachers were so vehement in their denunciation of the Jewish Sabbath. Their point was this observance was something that stood against what they stand for, and there's a direct conflict over here, and it's our observance of the Jewish Sabbath, the gift that God gave to the Jewish people. That's our testimony to the world. Our testimony to the world is that your devotion, the devotion in your heart belongs to God, and the devotion of every inhabitant in this planet, including Jesus, belongs to God and to God alone.